Hello there and welcome to another video. Today I want to show you a little bit of the editing that I did for the complex composition in my previous video. I'm on these complex images, at least the ones that are complex in terms of light and a lot of things happening in them. I'm editing in a special way, at least in the initial process. And I thought it would be interesting to show you how I do that, and it might be something that you find useful. So let's jump straight into the image. So the first thing that I'm actually doing is that I'm importing everything into Lightroom. I am making an initial edit for perhaps that is kind of generalized across the whole image. But I know that certain parts of the image does not look really good, like the sky, like the separation between the trees and the background isn't as good as I want. The second tree there is too dark, and I want more emphasis on the first tree there as well. And also I need to focus stack in another image for the foreground. But I make that initial edit, then I import it into Photoshop as a smart object. And if I enable the second layer there, I can show you here what it's doing. I've just blended it in manually with a simple layer mask to get sharpness in the immediate foreground there. That was really all that I needed. Remember I said it was cold, you can see a small piece of hail laying there. Anyway, so that is the first thing that I did. And the second thing that I did was that if I'm going to the initial layer there, right click it and then go to New Smart Object via Copy. Then you get a new smart object that you can edit. So then I jump into that raw. Essentially you get a second version of the raw file, the same raw file. So what I did then is that I opened that up in Camera Raw and I edited that one more for the tree, the first tree there, how I wanted it. I wanted it a little bit brighter and things like that. So I did an edit for that, and you can see then I just painted it in by hand mostly, in order to bring up the brightness in that first tree there. And then I did the same for the second tree. So you can see the same thing. I basically painted it in by hand. And the way that I like to work with it is that I am using a brush. I like a soft brush. And I like to click this button, the pressure enable airbrush style build up effect. And then when I'm using the keyboard, the numbers on the keyboard, if you look up here at the flow, if I press 1 I get 10%, 2 I get 20%, 3 I get 30%, you get a point. And if I click too quickly, like 1.5, I get 15%. Well, you get the point there. And what that allows me to do, if I just go to this empty layer we have here, it allows me to slowly build up the effect of the brush. And what that really allows me to do is to paint kind of freely and not apply the effect too much to any area, so that it gets super obvious where the lines and everything is. So I like to work that way. It's a bit more artistic in a sense. So anyway, that is that layer. You can see it brightens up the whole tree there and makes it a little bit more, or it makes it stand out a bit more from the background. And yeah, it just gives more interest into that tree. And the final layer here is for the sky. As you can see, the sky was just blown out to begin with there, or in that raw edit. Enabling the sky, I've just put in a lot of blue since I wanted it blue. Simple as that. So that is it for the blend, and you can see it goes from that to that. Simply brightening it up a bit in the trees and darkening down and giving more saturation to the sky. And then I have a lot of curves. If you can see, all of these are curves. So let's see what all these layers do. And most of these, you can see, I've painted these in as well by hand. Yeah, so let's see what all of these layers do. And the first one here is, you can see what it is doing. It's bringing down a bit of the brightness in the tree to keep those brighter spots or the illumination a bit more even across the whole tree there. And the second image, or the second curves layer here, is really to push up the brightness, and that is just to give more emphasis towards that tree. And the branches, you can see how they really start to stick out or really get more visible and well, yeah, separated from the background. And this next layer here is darkening the background, and the reason why I'm doing that is to, well, again, to try to separate the trees from the background a little bit. Since the light that we had on that scene wasn't necessarily the best. Good light for a scene like this, the way that most people see it, is fog and a cloudy day. And if I get those conditions, I'm going to go back to this location and try to capture that as well, because then I'm going to get a lot more separation from the background. And I have way too much light, in a sense, on the background in this image. And that is why I'm having to do all of these steps to try to reduce that and give more emphasis into the points that I want in the image. So if you see on this curves layer, it's actually adding a bit of contrast as well. Or rather, it's keeping up the brightness in the highlights, because if I, let's say, if I just reduce this down, you can see it gets quite flat in the background there. It becomes more unnatural in a sense. Well, the sunlight gets too dark really for what the scene demands, and I think that I'm already keeping it darker than it actually should be, but I'm kind of having to do that in order to get the scene to work at all. And this layer here is just to add a bit more interest here to foreground, to even it out a little bit more. And this little guy here, you can see this tree up here is just way too bright. So yeah, and then I have vignette, and then I have another vignette, and here I have another curves that is bringing up the darkness, but evening it out a little bit and highlights. And this is the first luminosity mask that I've applied during my edit, and basically it's targeting just the darker parts of the image. So you can see the sky is not targeted at all. The sunlight on the tree there, the same as on the tree here in the foreground, is not targeted at all. And yeah, it just gives a little bit boost in the darkest part of the image to even it out a little bit, since I think it was getting a bit too dark. It's still pretty dark image. And here we have some sharpening applied with this layer. I think I put it pretty heavy actually. I'm going pretty heavy with the sharpness, but I'm just applying it to the point of interest, so to the tree there mostly. I'm not sure how well you can see what it's doing on YouTube, but for me it's a pretty substantial sharpness increase that I'm doing there, and that it isn't really that visible. If you zoom out like this, I can hardly see anything when I'm zoomed out, but at 1:1 it's a pretty big difference. And then the final one is an orton effect, just to soften out those highlights and give them a bit of a glow, and just to bring it from the first initial edit to the final edit through not really that complex, it's not a really complex edit, but it's just a lot of small steps building it up to the final image. So for each step, I'm looking at the image and thinking, oh, what is detracting from the image now, and what could I do better, and then just adding that into the image. So yeah, I'm really hoping that you enjoyed looking a little bit at the editing that I did for this image. If you have any question about the editing that I've done, make sure to leave a comment, and perhaps I can make a video about more specific things that I've done in my editing. Oh yeah, so if you like this video, leave it a like, remember to subscribe in order to stay tuned for more. If you haven't seen the video where I captured this image in the field, I'll make sure to link it up here somewhere. And yeah, until next time, goodbye.